Welcome to another episode of PBJ on the ETB network, where we're studying the sticky and sweet truth of the Bible. Sticky because we want you to hold on to it, and sweet because it's good for you. Well, when we begin these episodes, we always go out to our friend Natalie. Natalie is out there with high fives for those in and around First Church. Natalie, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, PBJ. This week's high five goes to Don DeCock. Don, he's our man. He's the man with our EAP plan.
Thank you, Natalie, for that encouraging report. We always get pumped up when we hear your voice and the way in which you're just prodding people along and encouraging them on in the service that they do. Well, folks, you're probably wondering where we're at in the scriptures, and we're going to pick up exactly where we left off. We're in that section of the Old Testament called the books of poetry. And last time we talked some about the Psalms. This time we're going to be talking about Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, long word, but you could say it. Ecclesiastes was written by the same author that wrote Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon, and also the book of Proverbs. Ecclesiastes is a very interesting book, and we thought that the best way to bring this to light was actually to bring the author here today, and we have found Solomon, and he's here on the set of PBJ on the ETB network. Welcome, Solomon.
Thank you, PBJ, for having me here and allowing me to present and meet with your church.
Well, I know that you're a little bit older and more mature, and you've had now a perspective on life that you maybe didn't some years ago. But what I have read in the book of Ecclesiastes is that you are the wisest person in all the land. Is that true?
Well, PBJ, that is true, and you flatter me as I look at all of your books, and I imagine you yourself are a very wise man. But yes, God gave me the opportunity when I was young in life to ask for anything. And I chose that I would like to have wisdom at that young age. He granted me wisdom and much more.
Well, he certainly did. And the much more seems to be riches, because you're also described as one of the richest, if not the richest person in all the world.
That's right, PBJ.
And now, this is something I have to say I didn't like reading, but I need you to verify this. Is it true, in fact, that you had 1,000 wives?
Yeah, that is true, and I learned that all is vanity.
Well, vanity, if you had to give our listeners a different word for vanity, maybe a synonym of that word, what would that be?
Well, I would say when I say all is vanity, I'm saying all, it is all meaningless.
Because certainly God couldn't have approved of you having 1,000 wives.
By no means.
And I also have read from your writings that having so many wives actually got you in trouble.
It did.
Well, at the beginning of the book of Ecclesiastes, you're described as a king, of which we can see by the crown on the top of your head. But it also describes you as a preacher. What does that mean?
Well, I am a preacher. I have a message to share with the people who are willing to receive it, the readers and listeners now too. The message makes very clear that I don't want you all to make the same mistakes that I myself made.
Because you have been very clear using the word all or everything is meaningless. Do you stand behind that statement?
I do. Everything, my riches, my relationships, all were vanity.
So after you attained all these things, after you attained the riches, after you had all the wives, after you were seen as the wisest person on the earth, where people came to you for your wisdom, how did you end up feeling?
Well, I was looking for pleasure and fulfillment, but I was left feeling empty.
Empty. And so as you were feeling empty, I mean, there had to be a cause behind that emptiness. What do you think that was?
All that I had gathered up here on earth, wives and riches, all of this would not matter when I would die.
Wow. You know, that's quite a truth that we're hearing, and we're hearing it from Solomon way from the Old Testament. Jesus also talks about it. He talks about it in the Sermon on the Mount where he said, don't store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust can destroy, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven. So we can't take it with us. You had it all and it didn't matter.
That's right, PBJ. Even the greatest knowledge that the world had to offer didn't give me the fulfillment I was looking for.
And this is the message that you want to bring to people today. So this stuff ultimately did not make you happy.
That's right. I realized that no matter how much I had, when I die, I would be leaving them behind. So what good is all the stuff?
So why do you think it is, Solomon, that people still in our day try to accumulate a lot of stuff to give themselves happiness?
They haven't figured it out.
And you're here to tell them.
Tell them again and again and again, the stuff will not bring you the fulfillment you're looking for.
So he or she with the most toys doesn't win at the end.
And he or she with the most cash doesn't win at the end.
Because there's no such thing as a U-Haul behind a hearse.
That's right, PBJ.
Wow, these are wise words for us. So if you would like to say one thing to our listeners today, what one thing would you like to communicate?
The best way to live your life is to fear God first and obey all that the Bible has laid out for you. Obey the commands of God.
Wow, that's profound. Because as I read through the book of Ecclesiastes, I don't know how many times you said it, Solomon, but you said, all is meaningless, all is meaningless, all is meaningless. So I was actually looking for that which gave meaning, and you just shared it. The fear of the Lord and obedience to Him, that's what provides meaning in our life. Well, in every one of these lessons, we know we learn a variety of things, and obviously, Solomon, you've learned a lot about yourself. But what basic thing have you learned about God in all this?
God is the answer, the solution to all of the vanity, because where there is vanity and stuff, God is eternal.
So would you be saying that if we keep our eyes focused on God, that will take our eyes off of ourself?
That's right. We should live selflessly rather than selfishly.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and that's something very important. You know, we learned these things about God. We've talked about what we've learned about Jesus. We've seen what you've learned about yourself. And there's a variety of things that we could pray for, because in the culture that we live in, it's a culture that says, buy and get more. So Solomon, I want to thank you for being with us here. And you have taught us much, and I just hope that we listen to what he says. Otherwise, we're going to end up near the end of our lives saying, all is meaningless unless we figure out that God needs to be the center of everything. So, Solomon, I know there's one more wise thing that you have to share with all of our listeners. And what would that one thing be?
Read your Bible.
You heard it here. See you next week.